What's going on, YouTube fam? This your boy Tony 2 times, and we back with another episode of Hood Tales, man. Before I start, be sure to tap that like button. Definitely watch this video to the end to hear the full story and all the details in the case. For the day one fam, y'all already know it's all love. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. If you're new to the channel and you feeling the content, feel free to subscribe. Definitely hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Oh yeah, feel free to share the channel with your peoples. Everybody is welcome. Let's get right into the story. Once most people get up in age, the goal is to relax, take it easy, and enjoy the golden years. Especially if you have spent decades working hard and building a comfortable life for you or you and your spouse if you are married. Some older men and women might even decide to work past the retirement age, rather to have something to do, keep more money coming in, or simply because they like their career. But after a certain point in life, once you make it past your bumps, trials and tribulations, life throws your way, the last thing you want is for your peace you have found or the life you have made to be shaken up by outside people or influences. When the same people you work hard for and provide for years keep wanting more and more and add more to your plate, things can get tricky. It might even make you feel underappreciated. Sometimes we never peep or see the secret motives of other individuals, even the ones we love the most, until it's unfortunately too late. And on this episode of Hood Tales, we'll be taking it to Detroit, Michigan to discuss a case of a mother and son charged in a cold case slaying of her husband. Back in 2016, Mr. Darvin Tennyson was a 64-year-old man who had made a pretty good life for himself. Darvin worked hard for years at the Chrysler plant in Detroit. The man was stated to love his job, work long hours to make sure he could provide for him and his wife for over 10 years. At the time, 64-year-old Beatrice Flint Tennyson. The couple had been together for years. Even though they shared no biological kids together, Darvin didn't mind sharing the fruits of his labor with his wife. All his hard work had paid off. They shared a beautiful home together in the Detroit suburb of Farmington Hills. And Beatrice seemed pleased her husband made enough money for her to be a stay-at-home wife. Darvin was the type of man who didn't complain much. He would often work sun up to sundown, long overtime hours, even when he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The man would still never miss a day of work, going in sick. Thankfully, he would make a full recovery and his family was relieved. One person for sure, his twin sister. When Darvin would vent to his family and friends about his life and marriage, he saw things at first as being no problem, but others on the outside looking in felt his wife was draining the man dry of finances and was one of the main reasons at that age he continued to work so hard. See, Miss Beatrice had expensive taste, designer bags, foreign cars, expensive things for the house that she would often buy with Darvin's bank accounts without oftentimes even telling the man. But Darvin was old school. The older gentleman looked at it like happy wife, happy life. The money wasn't an issue. The couple's marriage would come under attack when, without even telling him, one day Darvin came home to Beatrice's son, 43-year-old Delbert Flint, laying around in his house, and it seemed he had moved in. Delbert had a troubled past, and him and his stepfather didn't get along at all. When Darvin confronted his wife about her moving her son in without his permission, she told him, "You will leave this house before I put my son out." Feeling blankly disrespected, Mr. Darvin put his frustration with home into work, working even more hours just for Miss Beatrice and now also her grown son to be spending more and more of his money. One day when Darvin came home from work, a contractor was at the house, and it seemed Beatrice had decided to add on to the home for her son. This was the final straw for Darvin. He told his wife, "This is my house. I don't want your son here because you two together are disrespectful. And over my dead body, will I let y'all take over what I worked so hard for?" But it seemed neither Beatrice or Delbert took that serious. It seemed they wasn't worried about Darvin's feelings at all and were teaming up on the man. His only peace seemed to be outside his home and while he was at work. He often told co-workers, "If something happens to me, my wife and stepson did it. telling one of his long-term friends he felt they were plotting on him because he told his wife either he goes or her son goes or the marriage is done. On March 19th, 2016, Darvin got up and headed to work like any normal day. But that would be the last time co-workers would see the man. The next day, on March 20th, Detroit firefighters was called to an explosion and car fire on Victoria Street in St. Albans. Once the fire was put out, they realized it was a body in the trunk, badly burned. Test was done to identify the victim, and unfortunately, it came back to be Mr. Darvin. As police investigated, was the vehicle registered to the man? They was given an address to his home on the outskirts of the city. Detectives went to the house to give Beatrice the bad news. Her husband was gone. She showed some emotion enough to get by and stated he never came home. So police thought maybe it was a robbery or something of that nature. As the rest of Darvin's family and friends got the news, they were heartbroken, as most felt the only enemies he had were in his own home. But police had no evidence his wife or stepson had anything to do with the situation. Years would go by, and Beatrice would continue to live her life with Darvin's money, taking care of herself and her son. His family was in shock to find out he had over $1 million life insurance policy taken out on him. And most people speculated her and Delbert plotted on Darvin for the money, and so she could keep up her lifestyle. As more information came in, detectives started putting the pieces together and came to a conclusion. The night Darvin went missing, he went home like any normal day from work. Beatrice and Delbert were waiting until he fell asleep. Then she sent her son in a room, who was a lot younger and bigger, to suffocate the man, so not to make a crime scene. After that, he took his body in the car, set it on fire in Detroit, hoping to make it look like a robbery. In 2019, 3 years after Mr. Darvin's slaying, Beatrice and Delbert were both picked up and taken into custody, charged with the hit on her husband and his stepfather. As Darvin's family got the news, his twin sister's suspicion of who was responsible was confirmed. She stated the night her brother went missing, she had a nightmare that woke her up out her sleep. She said she knew something was going on with her brother, and he more than likely was gone. She felt it was crazy the same person he worked hard for all these years plotted to take his life. As police described the older woman as greedy and evil, being the devil. Some felt she was a black widow. As the case made its way to trial, Beatrice, then 68 years old, in 2021, pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of tampering with evidence and only received 3 to 10 years in prison, as there was no proof she physically harmed her husband. Delbert at the time was 47 years old, and he pleaded guilty to manslaughter and tampering with evidence, and he was sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison. Rest in peace to Mr. Darvin. I send my prayers and condolences to his family. At 60 plus years old, you would think the last person you had to worry about is your wife. After all those years of working hard, not even enjoying his own money, she still wanted more and brought her son in for the ultimate betrayal. Some people feel like they got rid of the man so her and her son could stay at the home. But family that knew the couple's marriage say it was definitely all about money and Darvin's life insurance policy. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the situation in the comments. And remember, we gotta succeed, not to fail, so we won't be just another hood tale. Yeah, man, crazy story. Rest in peace to Mr. Darvin. But I ain't gonna talk too much more about this one. Y'all definitely let me know what y'all think about the situation in the comments. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. This is another episode of Hood Tales. This your boy Tony 2 times. Love, fam. I'm out.